Billiken fans? It's Zach Miller and Peter Hale. This is the Midtown Madness podcast. For those who follow us closely, you know that Peter was in Richmond for the Billikens versus the Spiders. Pete, we know the results on the court. How was the trip, though?
It was honestly a really nice trip. It's a long drive from here, Cincinnati. It's like 8 hours, but a pretty scenic drive. So that was good. But just to do that twice in 3 days was a lot. But Richmond is a nice place to watch a game, man. Their arena has been renovated for a couple of years now, and it looks great. It's a comfortable place. There's not a bad seat in the house. I would be shocked if there's an A10 school with a nicer campus. I think they have the just one of the nicest campuses I've ever seen. And I did their fans seemed like nice people. I didn't have any any awkward interactions like I do every time I go to Dayton or anything like that. Um, Very hospitable. And I was visiting my brother and his wife who just moved there, and they brought a big group of friends to the game. So we sat there with like a group of 10 or 12 people and had a great time. Really, I mean, except for me in the second half, I think everybody else had a great time, wire to wire, though. But yeah, like as you said, we know the result there, but the rest of it was a really positive experience, good trip. So I'll be looking forward to getting back there for some games.
Yeah, I gotta do an A10 road trip. I haven't done one in. I mean, obviously for good reason or not, for reasons it's not happened the last couple of years. But I need to do one. I don't think I've ever. Oh man, I can't even remember Butler. Maybe I think
Hmm.
Butler was in the conference last time I went out of town for an A10 game. But
They're one and done A10 season.
yes, incredible. Like that doesn't get talked about enough. That they
Yeah.
just like came in for a year and then said, "See ya."
Yeah, it was kind of a magical season when you look at everybody we had in the conference that year, but yeah, it all fell apart after that.
That was a really fun year. That was a great year.
Yeah, and we were great that year, so that helps.
Yes, yes. If we would have had Jim Cruz, it probably would have been worse. Before we get rolling with Billiken Hoops Talk, I want to tell you guys about Wheelhouse Bicycle Shop in Creve Coeur. Uh, you guys, most people are, weekly listeners. I don't think we have people that pop in. I think we just have really diehard listeners, which is awesome. But so that whether you're looking for a triathlon bike like I recently was, or your kid's first bike, or you just want a bike to get out on the roads now that it's going to get warmer here in the next couple months, go see Nathan Levanthal as your first stop. He's over at 770 North New Ballas Road in Creve Coeur. He's also online at wheelhousebicycle.com. So go check them out. They're awesome. They just do unbelievable work over there. But let's dive in to men's basketball, the week that was in men's basketball. Pete, we got a 72-61 win versus St. Joe's. This one was, I think I texted you, this game is bizarre. It was one of the most bizarre experiences to in like even in person. I was hyper aware of the stats in this one.
It was a weird game. It also, by the way, feels like it was like 3 weeks ago, uh, for some reason. But yeah, I barely remember it. It was definitely weird. It felt like very, I don't know, like there was, I don't know what it was like in house, but it seemed to me like there just wasn't a lot of energy in this game. It just had a weird vibe to it, and like you said, a lot of that just kind of came out on the stat sheet.
Yeah, I don't really remember, honestly. Funny enough, like I don't have a recollection much of this game other than I sat mid court in my old section for the second half. Like,
It was a game that wasn't a great attendance. It was
no.
listed at 44-35 in terms of it. So, less than half full for the game. And it wasn't very loud on TV. I mean, it was one of those games where everybody knows we're playing a team that's 12th in the league,
Hmm.
and it just took us forever to put them away. And so I think that has a lot to do with it when you're kind of seeing like, hey, there's a lot to be cleaned up in this game. Um, yeah, just a weird all around game. St. Joe's did not shoot a free throw in the first half, which I know led to their to Billy Lang, their head coach, pleading with the referee. Stu Durando caught that and tweeted about it. I thought that was pretty funny. and then they proceed to go 1 for 8 from the free throw line in the second half. Just
Unbelievable.
which I don't know if I've ever seen such a, maybe there was like an individual stretch in the French Goodwin years where we may have gone 1 for 8, but I don't remember that in a half. Insane. And then St. Joe's did help SLU out by missing pretty much every three in the first half. And you knew that wasn't going to last forever.
Yeah, that was really crazy. I mean, they went 1 for 13, and that's what St. Joe's wants to do is take threes. They're gonna jack threes all game. It's like playing college hoops 2K8 again. But yeah, I mean, it worked out decently for them in the second half, but only to the tune of a 28.6% clip across the entire game, 8 of 28. Yeah, just I mean, not only was it bizarre on St. Joe's side, on the SLU side, I mean, it was the exact opposite as far as 3-point shooting goes.
4 for 5 in the first half, and we're banging the drum, shoot more, shoot more, shoot more. Well, they did shoot one more in the second half and went 0 for 6. I have no explanation for that.
Yeah, other things I don't have explanation for. Jimerson goes 0 for 4 and the field goes 4 for 7.
Mm-hmm.
Just again, bizarre stats.
Yeah, it was just a weird game in every regard. I want to say this was also a game. I'm trying to, well, how many fouls did we have at halftime? Because I remember thinking like, I think this will probably be the first game in a while where we don't hear people complaining about the zebras.
Yeah.
I don't think we had many fouls at halftime. It wound up being even for the game. They did even it out in the second half a little bit. And like I said, St. Joe's, after not going to the free throw line, did shoot 8 in the second half. But it wasn't a, there weren't many fouls called in general. It was 14-14 in the game. I didn't think it was the most physical game. Ejike Obina, am I saying his name right? The
Sure.
big man for St. Joe's, got into some foul trouble in the first half. He picked up 2 and sat out probably the last 6 or 7 minutes of the half. I like what I saw from him. I thought he's a pretty good player. I also like Funk and Hall. I think Reynolds may be really the only other guy who left an impression because he got hot, from 3 in the second half for a minute, and kind of kept them in the game. They managed to stay in the game. In the first half, SLU couldn't really get much going inside. And then in the second half, it was the opposite. All 17 of SLU's field goals came inside the perimeter. And then we go 6 for 9 from the free throw line. And then St. Joe's can't buy a 3-pointer in the first half. And then that's kind of what keeps them in the second half. It was just two totally different halves of basketball for both teams. Again, we keep coming back to it, but this was just a weird game.
Yeah, it was weird in that, you almost have equal point distributions between the players, 4 players in double figure for St. Joe's, 4 players for SLU, and then really nothing to be said for the rest of the team. Some small contributions here and there for the 3 bench guys, or, the next 3 guys.
Mm-hmm.
It was bizarre. And then you end the game on a backdoor cover on a 3-point bang shot, which became a little bit of a meme, I thought, on Twitter.
Yeah, that got some attention. It's yet another reminder why I don't bet a dime on sports. And it seems like everyone in the world is now. Hanging out with my brother's friends this weekend, they were just placing bets all weekend on whatever. But yeah, this is the kind of stuff. If this happened to me once, I would just never do it again. Like it's killer. So I thought it was pretty funny, but I know a lot of other people did not. And sorry to our bettors out there.
Yeah, I think the big standout in this game though is Okoro 15 and 10 with a double. He continues to just get better every game. I mean, just completely raw potential. in Francis Okoro, and he improves every game.
He really does. He's been I think that's perfectly said. Just incremental improvement every game. His decision making is getting a little bit better. He still needs to work on some things, just kind of going up, like simplifying it in the post a little bit, just going straight up, a little more quickly, passing when he gets in trouble. Obviously some things to polish up, but his development has been really nice to watch this year, and three big blocks too. He's really come along strong.
Um, Two players have really seen a decrease in minutes, and one I'm not sure if we can contribute to the injury. Uh, it's Martin Linson. He gets again. We've talked about this. He gets lost.
I was really going to save him for the Richmond game
Sure.
because I think that's maybe the worst he's ever looked.
Uh,
Um, but yeah, and I didn't have an explanation for his minutes in the few games before this because, like I've been saying, I kind of like to see him in the high teens, so Okoro can play, low to mid 20s. But it's kind of gone the opposite direction. Where Linson's barely, he's getting more like 10, 12 minutes, and Okoro's getting closer to 30 at their kind of their platoon as the center. I don't have an explanation for it. Linson has looked healthier as he's gone on. Like his movement looks good. I don't know if his condition, like his conditioning is where it needs to be at this point in the season. I don't know about that. And I know a leg injury is not ideal for that. But yeah, he's not looked great. He's picking up too many fouls in too few minutes, and his defense has not been strong. He's never been the best rebounder, but I don't have an explanation for it.
yeah, it's concerning. I think because we certainly are going to need these two guys both at peak performance with 2 games left in the season, and then DC. Um, so here's hoping. Linson isn't just I don't know, in the doghouse, so to speak. And when you talk about doghouses, I think there's a prime candidate right now, and that's Terrence Hargrove. And we can get into it also in the Richmond game, but he's now in these last 2 games this past week. He's 13 minutes and 11 minutes respectively.
Yeah,
What do you what's going on here?
this one's even more mysterious to me because, like, look, in what, the second half of January, he went through that great big slump, couldn't hit a shot. I don't think it's that anymore. Like he's not attempting as many, he's not getting as many minutes for one. But he's actually, his percentage I think is okay in recent games. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if the way Thatch has played lately, his minutes have gone up. I think it's getting harder and harder to take Fred out of the game. So I think that's part of it. And Hargrove still remains, as much as I like his energy and his body language doesn't look as bad to me as it did back in January. But I still think there are too many lapses at both ends, in his game. And the way Fred's playing, I think it's just getting, I think it's getting, you know, less even in terms of how they're playing.
I just looked up Fred Thatch's roster page. He's a redshirt sophomore. This
Yeah.
is going to be a great running joke for how long can Fred Thatch and Gibson Jimerson be on the Billikens roster? Um, but no, in all seriousness, Fred Thatch, my goodness. I mean, this is the player that Travis Ford was like has been clamoring about, that this is what Fred Thatch could be. And, I think he really hyped up his 3-point shooting, and people are forgetting that.
Yeah, he's actually starting to to make that pretty consistently. When he gets an open three, he doesn't shoot it a ton. He's probably only taking I don't know, 1 to 3 a game, but he's hitting them,
Yep.
and it looks pretty good when he does. But his effort has been stellar at both ends. He's just been rock solid lately. And I don't know, man. I love to see it. Uh,
Yeah.
is he going to be back next year? Is he going to be? I mean, he could be a professor in a couple of years, but if he stays for all of it. But so I don't know about that. We'll worry about that in the off season. But in the meantime, he's been huge lately. He's been one of our three or so best players for sure.
Yeah, he's definitely got to be on the Paul Eckerly plan.
Yeah.
The grad school. Just looking at Fred Thatch, like recently, you go, St. Joe's 1 of 1. Richmond, he went 0 for 2, obviously. St. Joe's 1 of 1. Davidson 2 of 4. LaSalle 2 of 2. Bonaventure 1 of 2. Bonaventure 2 of 3. Uh, LaSalle didn't take a shot. Dayton 0 of 2. George Mason 1 of 2. Duquesne 1 of 2. I mean,
Right.
so this kind of all came about, end of January, because prior to that he went 0 of 0, 0 of 0, 0 of 2, 1 of 2, 0 of 1, 0 of 0. Just going
Right.
back. I mean, it's just it's he's is he finally finding his fitness, his legs to be able to hit that, his confidence? I mean,
Maybe all of the above.
yeah.
But regardless, I mean, it sounds like he's shooting about 50%, not high volume. You know, our team is not a volume 3-point shooting team. But if he can reliably, be a threat from there, and he's become one, that certainly changes how you got to defend him. So credit to Fred for really adding that dimension to his game lately.
Yeah, he's quietly raised his 3-point percentage to 37.8. And just to kind of compare that, Javante Perkins last season went 37.6 from three,
So there you go.
shooting 5 per game, 5 shots per game. So,
Mhm.
I mean, I think I think the more Fred Thatch shoots, the more Fred Thatch scores, the better things are going to be for Jimerson. Because if Fred Thatch becomes an option as a go-to, Jimerson's going to find himself a little bit more open.
Yeah, he is. He is. Like I said, it's just if that's there, you've got to change how you defend us. One of the things, back when I was a manager, you're always focused, everybody on the floor, this guy's a shooter, this guy's not a shooter, and you kind of round up, round down, but you really scheme around that. And Fred probably for most of his career has not been one of those guys, when you're scouting a team. But now all of a sudden, if you're like, well, he's shooting close to 50% in the last month, maybe this is a guy we've got to guard a little bit differently. And then he's getting the rim a lot too. I mean, he's really getting it done. So I love his development. But to just kind of, look, the St. Joe's game wasn't pretty, but it was a really nice team effort.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, they got it done. They came together, they got it done any way that they had to. And credit to Slew for doing that, even when, the threes weren't falling in the second half.
Absolutely. Um, Moving on to the Richmond game, as much as I would prefer to not do it, it's part of the gig. Yeah, there's so many. When I was doing notes for this game, I legitimately was coming up with a list of reasons we lost this game. Like if you wanted to put on one, hang your hat on one reason, I was gonna come up with a list of them. And we talked about how weird the stat line was from last game. Gibson Jimerson, man, and this one, just a bizarre game for Gibson. I mean, he struggled. I mean, it feels like his struggles, the slump he's in, started when he got clocked in the face.
Yeah, I guess it did kind of. That's about the timeline. Now, is that the reason?
Nah, I
I don't know. Um, but regardless, the things that I'm seeing from him lately, I mean, it might come down to fatigue. I mean,
yeah.
others have pointed out that he's played more this season already than he has in the rest of his career combined. His minutes are way up. We're depending on him in a way that he was not expected to be depended on, and for a while it worked, and now it's kind of wearing off. The other thing I'm noticing is he's vanishing in second halves. This has happened like 3 times lately where all of his points came in the first half. And that's never a good sign, because either he's just getting tired, or the other team's making adjustments at halftime to kind of lock him up. And defensively, credit to Richmond, they did a good job on him. They did kind of have, again, a guy shadowing him all day. But man, I really wanted this game for him, because that's a homecoming game for him, going back to his hometown. And I really thought, if he's going to get out of this little funk that he's in, hopefully he can do it in front of friends and family. And this just wasn't the one. He still managed. His average is about 16. So he's got 8 in the first half. So he was still on pace, even after missing 2 free throws. But he's not getting the looks from 3, not nearly enough. His motion was pretty good in this game. It's not like he was standing around. It certainly wasn't a lack of effort, but yeah, he definitely looks a little off.
Yeah, that's where I kind of jumped from what caused the loss. When you look at it, you can directly take those 2 free throws. You look at the last few possessions, right? And you're in a different position, even if he goes 1 of 2.
Yeah, I mean, and who knows?
Yeah, no, I'm not.
It's
I'm
like
not
a
gonna
butterfly
sit here.
effect.
Yeah, no, I'm
Yeah,
not gonna sit here and trash the kid.
yeah,
Jimerson's one of my all-time favorite Billikens at this point. Regardless of where he goes for the next few seasons, and when I say where he goes now with the transfer portal, I want to be clear that I just mean stat-wise.
right.
Given
Yeah.
given
We're assuming he stays,
yeah,
until yeah. Um, yeah, and right. I don't know what's up with him. But I don't know. Maybe it really is just the dramatic increase in workload. I know they've talked about in the past with him, he can really get in his own head. Very, you know, I think he's a little hard on himself. I think he has the word that they were using heading into the season was he was kind of overthinking things, and he might kind of be back in one of those periods. So, um, regardless of what it is, I hope he can kind of snap out of it soon. Um, if I had to, I know you have kind of a list of reasons, but like I said, our experience watching this game is a little different. Like it's usually the reverse. Like you're at the arena at home, and I'm at home on the couch. This one was the reverse. I'm in the arena, and you're watching it on TV with the box score and Twitter going and all that kind of stuff. In the gym, it played like SLU just looked completely out of sorts in the second half. And really what I saw so much was a lack of communication, or a breakdown in communication. Guys just did not seem on the same page on either end. There were missed assignments, guys cutting the wrong way, or some of the turnover that, what were the turnovers in this game?
Well, I mean,
I can't believe, 15-11, but it felt like more like 20-10.
yeah. It felt like, honestly, like there was I mean, I can give you 3 direct communication issues right now. The rebound with DeAndre Jones, I think Linson was involved in that one, that bounced, and then like somehow, I have no idea. There was, there was 2 backdoor cuts in a row. I
Mm-hmm.
think Burton on both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's 3 right there. And then you want to throw in, where communication, we'll throw communication in with focus. I mean, you have got to be aware that, that Richmond, especially Jacob Gilliard, he's going to go for the steal. He's a ball hawk.
Yeah.
You have to be aware. You cannot turn the ball over
Yes.
on an inbounds pass. After
Yeah.
a bucket, you cannot let him check that shit.
Yep.
You cannot. And luckily that one didn't turn into anything. By the way, I had a little tiff with our boy Noah Goldberg.
I saw that.
Yeah. Did what was break the tie here? Was it
Well,
a charge or a block?
okay. So which one was this? This was
This was the turnover. I think DeAndre and Yuri were on the court at the same time,
yeah. And
and
who was the Richmond player?
Gilliard stole it. And then, oh
Yeah.
gosh, who came down? KO maybe. Uh,
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was close. I obviously didn't get any replays and certainly wanted it for SLU, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm an ideal
yeah,
tiebreaker on that one. It was I think it was a close call, as I remember. But once again, when you talk about um, when you talk about Gilliard, it's like, guys, we've seen all of these Richmond players for 4 or 5 years now. They're like the oldest team in the country.
hmm
They've got, I mean, how, what did I tweet the one time? I think they've got 9 players who are 22 or older on their roster. So they're all seniors basically. Like, we know what they do. Why are you getting surprised by this backdoor cut action? Why are you not keeping your eyes on Gilliard at all times? You know what he's doing. You know where he's trying to be productive. I don't understand why we seem so unprepared or surprised by some of what they do that they've always done, and quite frankly, that we've always handled. This roster of players we've played so many times now, the same group of guys, and had only lost to them once. I think we've won going into this game. We had won 6 of our last 7 against Richmond, including the last 3 at their place. So it's sort of baffling. Like, this has just been a roster, this Golden, Gilliard, KO, Sherrod. We've always matched up well with them. We play really well again. Like, they're not tough at all. Like, there's a reason Okoro had 23 and 15 in this game. They're soft.
yeah.
Um,
Even the seats in Richmond are soft, apparently, right?
oh man, I rode W and I've got a nice cushion on the seat. Come on, man. I'm almost 39 and that stuff's appreciated. Richmond doing the little things. Yeah, very nice experience. But regardless, this is just a team that the first half showed we did not play our sharpest first half, and we're up 43-33 at halftime. And so I was just thinking, like, look, I know a 10-point second half lead is not safe with our team. We've shown that time and time again this year. But against Richmond, I felt pretty good, and just didn't like at all what I saw in the second half. Richmond clearly got the message, because their defense really sharpened up in the second half on us. They really frustrated us. I've got to give them credit for that. And their decision making was better in the second half. I think their shooting was better. I just I don't know, man. It was just really frustrating to see 2 dramatically different approaches in the second half from these 2 teams.
Yeah, again, it's a tale of two halves, two completely different games.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, you're looking at this week. The Billikens essentially played 4 different games. Um,
Yeah. That's pretty true.
it was crazy. I couldn't believe how well Okoro dominated. And it, you could. That was one of those you could see the switch by Richmond and much more. Playing much better defensively as far as Okoro goes. The rest of it really did seem self-inflicted by the Billikens. I think one of the main things that really broke this team's back in that game was the Sherrod barrage of 3-pointers. And I didn't
Yeah.
actually put that in notes. That actually just came out off the cuff, guys. So I'd like to toot my own horn on that one. No, Nick Sherrod. I mean, 4 of 5 from 3. He went ballistic. Or sorry, 3 of 4 from 3. He went
3 or 4, yeah.
ballistic.
Yeah, Gilliard had a few too, 3 of 8, but I think Sherrod was the one who hit the back-to-back ones early in the second half that basically, I think they went on a 10-0 run and basically erased our lead early in the second half, and it was a dogfight from there to kind of stay in it. And so yeah, so Sherrod was a big part of that. I don't know. I was just so frustrated in this one, you know. And Burton, I know, is a guy who's gotten some plenty of NBA scouts looking at him this season. He's come a long way, and you can definitely see his potential. He kind of quietly ends up with 23 and 10, you
Yeah.
know.
He had those two backdoor cuts. That was about the only two.
Exactly.
That was about the only loud points of the game for him.
His baskets just come so smooth and quick and quiet, you know. He's just a really effective player
Yeah.
against us, and he was probably the best player on the floor, but you didn't necessarily see that watching the game in person. You know, I probably would have thought Gilliard or Sherrod might even have more points than him, and it wasn't even close. You know, regardless, it's just like, we know these guys by now. It should not have looked like that in the second half.
Yeah, no, I think we talked that the Sherrod 3 point flurry, and I mean really the 3 point line is kind of, if we're listing reasons why we lost this game. I mean we're not sitting here if Nesbitt doesn't go 0 for 5, if anybody makes one more three, we're not sitting here complaining.
The craziest part of it too is, you know, for how many times in a row now, I think we're not shooting enough from three, but also how many did we rim out in this game? I remember turning to my brother and being like, that I think that's the third one in a row that just rimmed out.
Yeah.
I Pulling up the box score, I think yeah, so Jimerson went 0 for 2. Thatch, I know at least one of his was really close. Hargrove went 1 of 2, and the one he missed was really right there. I mean, so it wasn't just that we were, you know, I wouldn't say we were off or short or tired or anything like that. If a few more of those go in, it's a you know, you're fine. If you're even 4 of 13 isn't bad. But if you know, if we're like 5 of 13, which I think we should have been based on the shot selection and the fact that these things were just kind of barely rimming out, that was like the most frustrating part. Also, almost like they have unforgiving rims there or something.
The iron unkind.
Yeah.
As who said that? Was that Rafferty? Raftery?
Uh, it could be. Yeah, I don't know. But I mean, I don't know. I wasn't mad about the three, you know, the threes just didn't fall for whatever reason. They were mostly good shots. They were mostly right there. I think we airballed one, but you know, this is also a game I expected a big night out of Yuri, and he ends up with 2 points and 4 assists and 4 turnovers and 4 fouls, and it was just, yeah, just not a good game from him. Gilliard really, I don't know what it was, but Gilliard got up for this one and frustrated Yuri to no end. We got to, I want to say last time we played Richmond, Yuri had a big game. He had like 23 or 24 points.
Looked on pace this one.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
looked like the first 5 minutes. You're like,
That's
all right,
right.
here we go.
That's right. That's
Here we
right. He
go.
did. Yeah. Coming out of the gate. And then after that, he just couldn't get anything.
Oh, frustrating. Speaking of frustrating, Nesbitt scored 2 in a row, I think. I think he went, or 2 baskets back to back, 4 points back to back. And then, like, it just feels like Nesbitt asserts himself. And we've talked that he gets lost in the offense, but, like, what do we do? Why are we not running something specifically for him? Like, what? It doesn't make sense to me. We don't, even just an ISO, because he was dominating Burton.
It's almost like we think, it's almost like we expect him to just kind of be Jordan Goodwin. Yeah, you know, like he had 5 offensive rebounds in this game, and all season he's gotten a lot done on the offensive glass. You know, I give him a lot of credit as a freshman who can hit the glass like that. He's been solid. But yeah, you're right. It doesn't look like we are
He really is being
running
plugged
sets.
in. He really, now that you mention it, that's a great point. That escaped me. I had never thought about that.
But he's not.
Point.
He's not quite Jordan Goodwin
No.
yet. You know, like he's a different kind of player.
Yeah.
And I think we do need to make him more of a focal point of the offense. He's clearly very skilled. Plays with a ton of effort and energy. I love him.
Yeah.
He, I think he's one of the couple most talented and essential players moving forward on this team. I, 0 for 5 from three, and most of those were pretty good shots, just didn't fall. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't want most of his shot attempts to come on just offensive boards,
Yeah, no. I would love to see him get a one of the calls where Gibson's in the corner. I'd love to see him run that little route or whatever
Hmm.
you want to call that. Um, just frustrating to see a
Hmm.
guy that was playing so well. And I mean, sure, you want to throw at me. He went 0 for 5. Okay, throw that at me. Whatever. But we give him the ball and let him isolate. He can get to the hoop.
Well, and also I think in two games last week he went 5 for 7 and 3 of 5 from three.
Right.
So like that's gonna happen sometimes to a
Mm-hmm.
freshman who's pretty solid. He's just gonna, he's gonna have these kind of feast or famine performances, and obviously this was not one of the feast games, but yeah, you're right. I think we need to make him more of a focal point.
Feast Week presented by Bad Boy Mowers. Jeez. Let's talk about Hargrove. Well, did we really talk about Hargrove, or should we just kind of move on?
Yeah, we kind of covered Hargrove and even Linson a little bit. Like I said, Linson was as
Linson got
bad as
lost
I've.
again. Yeah.
I mean, he was, and not only that, we were sitting like, yeah, we were up in row W. We were behind the SLU bench, and man, that's the maddest I saw Ford get all game was on Linson.
Yeah.
You could even hear him one time, like you completely blew your assignment, or like I can't remember what he said, but he was had no patience with Linson in this game, and maybe rightfully so because Linson was just, there was the one box out where he kept boxing out as the ball bounced in front of him, and a Richmond player just scooped it up. And a couple of stupid fouls and missed assignments, and yeah, oh boy, he was the only guy where like my brother's friend turns to me and is like, what is that guy's deal? What's wrong with him? Why is he playing like he looked that bad? Where like a neutral observer was just like, what is this guy?
That's
Um,
odd.
and again, I do give Linson some credit for still being the guy who's standing the most on the bench and being vocal. And he he's been called our vocal leader all season, and he's clearly still doing that even when he has a bad game. But ooh, this was not his night.
Yeah. No, definitely not. You mentioned Ford, and Ford was upset with the guys. A lot of saltiness directed at Travis Ford after this one on Twitter, and I gotta be honest, I haven't even gone to the message boards. I usually take about a week after a loss. I usually wait till I set the game day thread for the next week. Where do you land on blame directed at Travis? I mean, look, I've said, like, I tweeted out after the game from our account a picture of Javante Perkins,
Mm-hmm.
like everything. And people are gonna say, I mean, there are like meme accounts coming out on Twitter now, like Travis Ford, excuse maker, this and that. Um, but like everything has to be looked at through the lens of Javante on this team, and we're looking at a surefire NCAA bid, if not a single digit seed.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's probably right. I don't think what is this now, the sixth game that we've seen a double digit lead evaporate in the second half?
Yeah, you're looking at, yeah, I mean, a double digit lead. If you get up with a double digit lead, if Perkins isn't even, so let's say Perkins doesn't even start. Let's say Perkins comes off the bench, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get a double digit lead without Perkins, you throw Perkins in there. You're not giving up the 20-point lead. I don't care how terrible you play on defense. It's not
He
happening.
he is exactly the kind of player that compensates for the offensive deficiencies you see on this team. Because he's a three-level scorer with a quick trigger, and just his scoring ability really makes up for a lot of problems. How many times this year have we seen Collins? God, in this Richmond game, it was like he was trying to set a record for dribbles per possession.
Yeah.
And that I don't think is the case when you've got Perkins, who just gets the ball and scores so fast, usually never dribbling more than once. And yeah, I mean, if he's out there, he takes a ton of pressure off Jimerson. Um, Thatch can just kind of attack the rim. I just feel like everything runs differently if he's out there. That said, the fact that we have been up so many times after the first half or during the second half or whatever shows you that we can still win. Like there's still enough on this roster to get it done. And there have been a lot of times where for 20, 25, 30 minutes, we are getting it done. And I just want to know like what's being said at halftime, what's not getting through to these guys, what's are we not making enough adjustments? The other thing that a few people have noticed this and kind of pointed this out is, Ford will be the first one to say he's a very animated guy. He can really look like he's getting emotional, getting after it out there. I don't know if that's always the presence that you need when things start breaking against you in the second half. Like when you have um was it Sherrod who hit a few 3-pointers in the second
Right.
half in a row and kind of erased that deficit. You kind of want your coach to be a rock in this, like, guys, stay calm. We got this. I don't know that he's necessarily the most calming presence when things are going that way. This was a conversation I was kind of having with my buddies Tim and Joe and Mike over the weekend, because we've noticed that how many times now. I think rather than and look, his style's his style, but I just think in those kind of situations, I agree with these guys that like he's got to maybe he's got to be a little bit steadier hand, because there's got to be some reason why we've coughed up so many leads, and as much as we'd say things would be different with Perkins, we still know that they can win. And I don't know, at least 4 or 5 of those games now should not have gone this way.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think he's I think he's a good coach. I think
Yeah.
I don't think there are many great coaches in college basketball. Um, there aren't. There's maybe 10. But I think Travis Ford is a great motivator. I think he's a good coach. I think he's a great recruiter. Um, uh, Controller of his emotions, he is not very good. And I think you're right. I think that, I don't even know if it's adjustments not being made or just, Travis putting the fear of God into these guys and they don't respond to it that way. So I maybe that's something Ford needs to look at working on. We talk about player improvement over the summer. Coaches got to improve too. And I would for sure like to see Travis Ford relax a little bit,
Hmm.
especially when you get up. You're up 10. Yeah, Ford wants perfection.
Hmm.
Everybody does. That's the nature of being a coach. In anything really. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're ambitious enough to be a head basketball coach in the NCAA Division One, you want perfection, but you have to. I think at some point, you not settle, but you have to understand that that's not going to happen, and maybe players need a little, maybe a little hand holding. We don't need to give them participation trophies, but just a little calmer, like you said. So I definitely agree with you on that one.
Yeah, and to anybody who's look, you and I are not trolls or whatever, and if there are people out there saying his seat's hot or we need to make it a chance, like that's ridiculous. Like I don't think that's it at all. I think coaches they always get let go too soon. They need time to kind of form their program. I know fans are impatient.
Yeah,
Ford has also, and I don't want to sit here and make excuses. We've had things
it's
happen
reasons.
every
It's
year.
reasons. It's
We've
not.
had off
Yes,
court crazy things happen every year that he's been here. Um, just which is just incredibly, I don't know. I mean,
you
it's
can
just
hang. You can hang the suspensions on him. Hang it on him for bringing. For you can hang that on him a little bit. I'm not saying it's his fault. Like I'm not saying he went out and did anything. I'm saying like you bring in a player and they get into trouble, that's on you. It is. In a way, in a matter,
Yeah.
yes.
No,
It's a
I know.
reflection on you, if
Sure.
nothing else. Yeah, so I think should we be asking questions? Sure. Fair? Yes. Are we talking, the seat warming? I don't think so. I
No,
really
no,
don't. Not even close.
no.
Cool throne for Travis Ford, guys. Cool throne. Um,
Yeah, I no, none of that. And Ford's been on our show twice. We like him. He's a great dude.
yeah, but we're still, hey,
Tons of respect. It's
yes,
just
we're not gonna be easy on him just because he's been on the show. Like, that's not why we're here. We're still fans, and we're still, psychotic. Not psychotic, but we're still like, the fan is short for fanatic, and it's applicable for both of us. So we love the Billikens first and foremost, whether it's Travis Ford's the head coach or some other guy. So I mean, like I said, and this is someone we've already talked about doing an episode where we go into we pick topics and we just talk. This is where I go about the Team Blue. Like, when people talk about Team Blue, I'm a Billiken fan. I'll be a Billiken fan. I was a Billiken fan before Team Blue. I'll be a Billiken fan after Team Blue. Team Blue doesn't mean anything to me. It really doesn't. So it is what it is. We're gonna love the Billikens, and we're gonna defend the program before we'll defend a coach, I think, and at least on my end. You've seen it with volleyball. So that's just where I stand. I love Travis. He's been nothing but great to me personally. But I mean, you gotta win these games when you're up to. I don't care. Like, I don't know if it's tactical or if it's emotional, and you got to figure out whichever one it is and correct that quickly.
Yeah, agreed.
You actually were lucky being in the arena in one aspect, and that was you didn't have the pleasure of listening to the broadcast in which it was proclaimed. I don't think Mike Corey proclaimed it, but the color commentator proclaimed that Dayton would make the Final Four within the next 3 years. And I know at least one person on A10 Twitter said they threw their phone and in response to that, and I can agree. I was fuming mad. If we hadn't have been up 10, I think, when he said it, like, I probably would have like had a coronary. Anyway, let's go around the A10. We had some interesting results
Yeah, speaking of
this
Dayton.
week. Yeah, speaking of Dayton, shout out LaSalle, the blue and yellow. Go La Boys. Monday, nothing. Tuesday night, Bonaventure visited Rhode Island and hung an 18-point loss on the Rams. They've won their 6th straight. Richmond beats George Washington at home, 84-71. Billikens beat St. Joe's 72-61. Wednesday evening, Fordham goes into Tom Gola Arena and wins 60-54. Like I said on Twitter, A10 is the game of chutes and ladders. Dayton beats UMass on the road, 82-61. VCU beats Mason, ekes out a win, 6-point win on the road against Kim English's Patriots squad. Davidson holds serve at home, 74-50 against Duquesne. That's a no-brainer. I think everybody and their mom saw that coming. Nothing on Thursday night. Friday night, it was Friday 10. Billikens drop a heartbreaker on a second half comeback by the Spiders, 68-66. Saturday, Mardi Gras, baby. If there's a day for this to happen, it's Mardi Gras, because shit gets weird on Mardi Gras.
And you're in a celebratory mood already.
Dude, this result, I may have been fading at about, what time was this game? I don't know what time the game was, but I was fading around 2:00, right? I think it was I don't even remember what time the game was. I don't know. I think I found out around 3 about the game, and I was fading a little bit. I turned back up. I was on one after this. LaSalle, the Gola boys, they beat the Flyers on the road at
On senior
UB
day.
Arena on Senior Day.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. Peter, when did you find out about this?
I
It's like where were you when?
I got a couple text messages. And we were at, we were just kind of bar brewery hopping all day in Richmond. So at some point, my phone buzzes and I look down and see that, and it was just like, oh, you got to be kidding me. That was so. Oh man, I'll never root for Dayton. I love it. I love it. What can I say?
Yeah. Here I got a question for you. Since it's been like a regular Twitter thing on West Pine Bills, and then in text messages between them, where do you stand on Lunardi, including Dayton, way higher than most? Like Dayton can be used as clickbait, right? I mean, I think for sure they have enough fans and enough people see Dayton as like a favorable mid-major to root for. Like, when it comes around tournament time, that like putting Dayton way higher in your bracketology garners clicks. It's a little clickbaity.
I don't get it. They just to me haven't done nearly enough to compensate for those horrible 3 losses that they started the season with.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know why they're getting so much credit for the Kansas win and
Yeah.
no credit for those. Like, I don't know. I just don't see it with Dayton. Look, like it's been a really up and down season, and they're young, and that was always going to be the case, but I don't see it. And meanwhile, I've thought Davidson like after, yeah, they started the season with 2 losses to what wound up being pretty good teams. And then they've done nothing but win since then.
Yeah.
I don't know what else Davidson has to do. I think they've been an at-large team since, the end of non-conference play when they were 11-2. So I don't get why they're kind of like bouncing in and out of the bubble conversation instead of just being a lock all along. But I think regardless, they're going to win this conference, and I hope they get credit for that.
Yeah, I think a really interesting thought exercise that I just came up with would be to take the Billikens schedule and the Billikens beating Auburn, flip the Auburn game, and now you're looking at a 20-10 or a 20-9 Billiken squad that's beaten Auburn, and with really no bad losses. Maybe throw
UMass.
in, yeah, UMass bad on the road. Was that on the road or on the road? Right?
Yeah, that was the road one.
Yeah. Yeah, UMass is a bad loss. One bad loss compared to Dayton. You sit Dayton where they are now. I mean, SLU's comfortably in, I figure, right? If Dayton's on the bubble with that resume and the Billikens are beat Auburn, the number one, what were they, 6 or 7 at the time? I think the
Yeah.
Billikens would have been comfortably in.
Mm. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I can't pretend to
Yeah.
understand where a lot of these come from, because like I said, I've been high on Davidson all year. But yeah, that we very well might be, because a lot of those losses, and yeah, both the losses and the wins have kind of aged well. Boise State, like a lot of the teams that we played have been really
Yeah.
good. So
Moving on to Rhode Island at Duquesne. Rhode Island Rhode Island's been up and down. You don't know what you're going to get. And they go into Duquesne and grab a 16-point win. Duquesne's awful. Really,
yeah, I was
really
going to say, you know what you're going to get when
well,
you play
yeah,
Duquesne.
you know
That
what
might
you
be
get.
the only exception.
You know what you're getting from Duquesne. But just really bad. We find out that Dambrod's coming back. Regardless, crazy. 66-45 win for Davidson at Fordham. VCU holds serve at home, 77-62 over the Minutemen. Bonaventure ekes out a home win, 54-52 against St. Joe's. Could have been disastrous for the Bonnies. And then today, Sunday, George Mason goes into D.C. and beats George Washington. Wait, are they both in DC?
Mason's like in the Northern Virginia suburbs, Fairfax. So yeah, I mean,
uh,
same metro area. They're close.
69-62. Mason goes into George Washington and
Yeah.
wins.
That's, by the way, that Bonaventure win. That's 7 in a row now. It's like they've finally found the form that people expected out of them all season long, and they seem like maybe the most dangerous team in conference right now.
Yeah, I don't want to see them at all. I don't want to. Actually, you know what? I kind of do want to see them. It's hard to beat a team 3 in a row. I think I've said that before, but
Yeah, and we've played our way out of the top four, so we're not getting that double bye in the conference tournament. So we're not going to have to play five, but we're going to have to play four to win the thing. And regardless of how this shakes out, we're going to have at least one team on our side of the bracket that I don't want to play
right.
because I don't want to see Davidson again. I don't necessarily want to see Dayton again. I don't know. I wasn't feeling great about Bonaventure after those two games. So, VCU is a team I don't want to see on our side of the bracket, and we finished the regular season against them. So,
I'd prefer if all teams just get food poisoning and they just crown our asses. Yeah, looking at the schedule, had 2 more games in the regular season, Pete.
this is it. This is the week.
URI on Wednesday. We head to Kingston. Wednesday, March 2nd, 6 p.m. And then VCU on Saturday. That's at home. These are 2 games. I mean, you look at VCU on any given year and you say, that's a tough game. But this year, I think that's a game that's absolutely winnable. VCU's up there too. That's what's weird. Like it feels like they've had a terrible year, yet they sit at 13-3.
Well, I mean, look, it's
Seven
all
in a
about,
row as well.
yeah, and it's all about defense with them, right? I mean, they're just an incredible defensive team, best in conference. They've had a tough schedule, and they're going to have a couple guys playing in front of their hometown too.
Yeah.
Stockard and
Stockard? There's a Stockard again?
isn't he still there, Levi?
No. No, he went. Oh, is he?
Or is it just Kern who's why am I all of a sudden
I don't know. Why
second
are
guessing?
you?
But regardless, they're going to have at least one player making a little homecoming trip there. So I don't love that game as our last of the season. Rhode Island, we haven't seen either of these teams yet.
Oh, he
season,
is still there. He is still there.
Yeah, Stockard's still there. I've just pulled it up. Right, so they're going to have two guys coming home because Nick Kern Jr. is a freshman there. So regardless, this is a really tough team. Excellent defensive team, and
Terrible offensive team. Maybe the biggest disparity between a great defense and a bad offense in the NCAA.
well, yeah, I mean they've had their moments, right? I mean they've had some injuries to like Ace Baldwin being out for part of the year. And I really like St. Vince Williams, the guy who was SLU recruited in high school. They certainly have their games where they have an up offensive game, but yeah, you're right. I mean, it's really just all about defense with this team, and the way that our offense bogged down against a couple teams that are not known for their defense, like Davidson in that first half, like Richmond in the second half the other day. It's definitely concerning, to look at this matchup. So I'd like to think we can take care of business at Rhode Island and hopefully give VCU all that they can handle on our senior day.
Yeah, I agree. Oh gosh, we need that win.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be fun. It's gonna be a fun atmosphere. I think it's not too early, not too late on a Saturday, so you get the best of both worlds. The kids can come out and not be up till 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. But it also gives us time to get downtown, have a couple beers, some lunch, and head over to the game. Let's talk about the missing points and hearing about the update on Sincere Parker. Travis Ford has to be just giddy over it.
Yeah.
What's going on with Billiken commit Sincere Parker? Because some big accolades his way and big game in the Region 16 championship.
Yeah, Region 16 is one of the best in JUCO Division One. and he was the region's player of the year for the regular season. And then Moberly's first game in the conference tournament was against Mineral Area College, and it's an overtime win. Parker scores 26, including 9 in overtime, to get the win for Moberly. So you love to see it. Can't wait to get him on campus because you cannot have enough scorers.
Yeah, I'm excited to see. I know West Pine Bills are way up on Sincere Parker, and
Yeah,
I'm
they
excited
are.
to I'm excited to see how he kind of gels right away with this team. And
Yeah, and for those asking, because like obviously our last JUCO guy, Perkins has been quite a scorer and was quite a scorer in JUCO. Perkins did score a little bit more than Parker. Parker is only actually a 1 year JUCO player though, and Perkins was a sophomore by the time we signed him. Um, Parker's a little bit shorter. He's he's a little streakier, I think I would say. He'll have games where he goes like 2 of 8, 1 of 6 from three kind of thing, and then the next game he'll go like 5 of 7. So he's a little streakier, although he's settled in over the course of the year. So we'll see how it translates. We're going to have 3 seasons out of him, and I think he's going to be a nice offensive player for us. And I will add, while we're on the subject of signed recruits, um, this is when districts start for Missouri high school basketball. And Pattonville plays Francis Howell Central. If you're listening to this on Monday, the game's tonight. And then meanwhile, I think it's on March 1st, the next night, or sorry, the second. So that'll be Wednesday. SLU takes on Oakville in the first round of their district. So both of our local high school players are in action this week. So follow them in the playoffs too.
moving over to the women's side of things, uh, the shorthanded Billikens, now they have 8 players, guys. We're getting more back. They went into Fairfax and beat George Mason handily in this one. 23-point win, 58-35. I think I did the math right on that one. I mean, Mason's the worst team in the league, I think, but, you know, what can you say, really?
35 points, man. I mean, this is just an
20,
incredible
20, 20.
no,
Oh,
I mean,
oh,
they
you
held
held that.
Mason.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
sorry. I
held
was
Mason
looking
to
it up.
35, including 4 in the second quarter. Just incredible defensive effort. Martinez plays all 40 minutes and Harbison plays 39. And they were just awesome defensively. Brooke Flowers has 7 blocks in this game. And you got to think that's putting the fear in the hearts of George Mason every time they've got it in the paint. Mason went 11 deep in this one, which we've seen basically every opponent do against the Billikens lately, and it just didn't work, no matter how they spread those minutes out. Um, Incredible defensive performance here. I can't say enough good things, especially on a night when your 3-point shooting wasn't clicking. 2 of 13.
I mean, this could have been a 30-point game
Yeah, it really could have
very
on the road.
easily.
And yeah, Mason's not great. I mean, look, they still went 8-6 in non-conference, or sorry, 6-6 in non-conference. They were pretty solid. But yeah, the wheels have kind of fallen off for them in conference play. And like you said, they're in last place. So it's nice to see that even when everything has gone wrong this season for SLU, health wise, injury wise, that they can still get on the road and take care of business.
They followed that up, and it seems to be kind of the theme. And again, we're not gonna. I mean, there's no point in really analyzing these games because it's so shorthanded. They go into or they play UMass. They welcome them into Chaffetz and drop a 74-62 decision in this one. Um, Pete, not much you can really get into. It's just, I mean, it's crazy that they're having to deal with, the
Well,
injuries.
UMass is just a lot better team. I
Oh
think they're
God,
they're
yeah.
they're in third now. I mean, they're 23-6 on the season. I don't know if it'll be enough for an at large because they're kind of outside the top two, but they've had an excellent year and they're going to be a threat in the
Mhm.
conference tournament. So this is a much different team. And SLU goes 2 of 17 from three. You go 2 of 13 against George Mason and just lock them down defensively.
Concerning.
you can get away with it. Going 2 of 17, not many teams are going to beat that way, especially when, you're talking about the third best team in the league. So, Flowers had another monster game with 19 and 16, 4 blocks. She's been awesome lately. And, but not many other people were particularly sharp in this one. Martinez does have 9 assists to 1 turnover, which you love to see. But yeah, Kylie Bess is out for the year. She was kind of their 3-point specialist, and they're just going to have nights like this where the shots aren't falling.
Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, 1,100 people showed up for senior night. It appears as though MST will not return. It appears as though Kaija will not return. Brooke Flowers has announced she will return. So we're gonna see what happens in the next coming weeks, months. Whether or not something changes with Kaija, something changes with MST. I don't see it happening, but fingers crossed. It would be nice to have her back.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's the Billikens finished the season, the regular season that is, 9 and 17, 5 and 9 in the Atlantic 10, which is good enough to land them in the pillow fight, the women's pillow.
Uh,
Oh.
maybe we should just keep going.
Yeah, it's the they play Wednesday at 3 p.m. against George Mason. In where's the tournament at this year? I don't even know.
The tournament, it's is this the
DC?
first year that they're at that neutral site in Pennsylvania?
Oh yeah, they're back in neutral site, I think.
Yeah, there's some kind of sports guy. I have to look. I can't remember what it was called, but I think that starts this year with that a neutral
Okay,
site.
yeah. I mean, it's gonna be it's a tough hill to climb. I don't know if they can pull it off, but I have no doubt that they will give their best effort.
Wait, is this this actually might be the first round of the
Well,
tournament?
yeah,
It's Chase Fieldhouse in Wilmington, Delaware. Yeah,
Wilmington,
sorry. We're so
Delaware.
close to, yeah, right across from Philly, but yeah, so this is technically the first round of the women's tournament.
That would be a fun little trip, Wilmington, Delaware.
It's a cool facility too. It really is. I remember seeing it when they made the announcement that the tournament was going to be going there for the next couple seasons. Um, it's yeah, so yeah. I mean, it would be a fun trip, a trip to make. Yeah, unfortunately, so SLU's the 11 seed, Mason's the 14 seed, and this game's at 3 o'clock St. Louis time on Wednesday. Will be on ESPN Plus.
Yeah, this is cool. This is really cool. Sorry, it's a home to the Bluecoats, the 76ers G
Yep.
League franchise.
Yep.
Home to I don't know why I'm telling you people this. None of you care.
Well, I
Uh,
think that fact is pretty cool. I mean,
yeah,
it's a
no.
really nice facility.
Yeah, I mean they do concerts. It's cool. So brotherly love lacrosse too. That's the last one I'll say. And then so check that out Wednesday 3 p.m. We love our Billiken soccer here at the Midtown Madness. Let's talk about a little MLS update for our Billikens in the pros, so to speak.
Yeah, Kip Keller apparently was great against for Austin FC against FC Cincinnati. Now, I will say, as someone who lives in Cincinnati, I've got a lot of friends who are season ticket holders. They suck. This is not, they're not great, but Austin FC is a second year
Yeah.
team. The expansion franchise last year, and it looks like Keller is gonna, they really did draft him with the mindset of kind of building that back line around him. So yeah, great start.
Yeah, big time. A player that didn't see the field but was on a roster was Isaiah Parker.
Yeah, didn't play. For Dallas, they drew against Toronto. Look, I mean, he's going to be I think they're, another prominent piece for them, but I could see where maybe he's a little bit younger. Maybe it's going to take a little more time to become, that offensive talent that we know he is at the next level. But but it's still so cool to see all these guys on these rosters.
Yeah, if we're gonna be fair in Billikens and the pros, we might as well throw out that Brad Davis was on the bench for Houston Dynamo. Brad Davis still hanging in there, unbelievably. I'm assuming he'll end up captaining St. Louis City next year. That would be my. I mean, if you wanna throw a bet down on a future, I would say that's a good bet. It makes complete sense, honestly. But yeah, awesome to see the Billikens doing well in the MLS. At least being on squads. I desperately need a Kip Keller Austin FC jerseys. Those jerseys are so cool. I could get
I
one
really
for.
like theirs.
I
Yeah.
know. I need. Well, we got St. Patty's Day coming up, man.
Oh, perfect colors.
Could
Yeah.
could be
Yeah,
perfect.
and I'll we'll do a little research too coming up here, because we've got a lot of other players who maybe they're not on the first team.
Right.
I know we've got guys playing at like the MLS Next Pro level, but we'll try and do more of a as these seasons get underway, we'll do more of a roundup to say where everybody's at and how they're doing.
Baseball played twice this week. Surprisingly, honestly, because everything kind of got thrown haywire. They only finished one game this week, though. 9-9 suspended game at Edwardsville. I'm assuming it was just suspended because it got dark and cold as hell.
Yeah, they said it was due to weather.
Yeah, I mean, there was nothing really else in St. Louis at the time that could have been a factor. No snow, no rain. They did not play their game scheduled against Oral Roberts Friday or Saturday. They did lose today, 15-7. Oral Roberts jumped on the board, and I think they scored 3 in the first. And then the Billikens came back and tied the game. And then Oral Roberts went on a run. I fell asleep. I took a nap.
Yeah, so after tying at 3-3 in the top of the third, Oral Roberts proceeded to score at least one in every inning thereafter. And it wound up being 15-7 in the end.
Yeah, just baseball. College baseball is weird. I formulated a hot take today that college baseball maybe should play 7-inning games.
Didn't they used to, I mean, when did they switch to 9?
I thought they've always played 9, but that's
Oh, I thought
interesting.
they switched
I'm
from
gonna have to
7.
look that up.
Yeah.
After the pod, actually, I'll just Google it so it's on there, and then I'll go check it out later. Softball. Again, scheduling is like you're legit. If you are a baseball or softball coach in the NCAA, you double as a logistics coordinator. You really do. It's pretty insane. You definitely have a future in warehousing if you want it, and distribution for that matter. Games were actually played. They didn't play until today, and the first 2 games of their tournament down in Central Arkansas were played at 9:30 and 11:30 a.m. Central Time.
Yeah.
Which is brutal.
And they're doing more or less the same on Monday.
Yep.
Bumping those games back, playing at 9:30 and 1:30 St. Louis time.
Just crazy. I mean, and not to mention that you're on the road for pretty much a month straight.
Right.
To start the season. I have so much respect for baseball and softball players for even graduating. If you kept me on the road for a month straight, do you think I would have ever graduated? 4 times. 4 times. I'm on a month. I'm literally. I don't even know if I could have done remote learning.
I mean, it took you a while to graduate, even
Yes, it did.
without traveling at all.
To be fair, there was a major change in there, guys. But yes,
Right.
you're wrong. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But a lot of people go to college for 8 years.
Yeah. Yeah, they're called marketing majors. No. Regardless, softball split on Sunday, losing to Central Arkansas 3-0, and then beating Omaha 6-3. So they'll turn it around on Monday and play Omaha in the morning and Kansas City in the afternoon, all at UCA.
Yep. And there was no box score available for whatever reason. I guess because it was at UCA and it was between Omaha and the Billikens. All right, Billiken fans, we got a special guest, and I got to apologize. I'll let you guys in on it. I forgot to hit record. So, God bless our next guest for hanging with us here. He has every right to just log off right now and tell us to jog on, literally, because he's the track and field coach. It's John Bell. John, thanks for joining the show, and I apologize up and down all night.
Hey, we can do this again, no problem. I'm used to doing things multiple times over.
That's kind of what a track meet is, right? It's just race after race after race. Yes,
lots of laps.
The track is not my friend. Let's talk about the weekend. You had a big weekend in DC. First and foremost, the guy that took the headlines was Toby Gillen. Tell us about his weekend and kind of how he got here, because it's a wild story.
Yeah. Toby, he's been in the country for 4 weeks. A10 performer, A10 performer of the meet, conference champion, the 5,000 meters, runner up in the 3,000 meters, school record in the 5K. Just missed the 3K record by I think 3 seconds. Super excited about his performance. He was nervous going into it because he's been in the United States for 4 weeks. Has never raced any of these guys in the A10, so he doesn't know any of them. So he doesn't really know what to expect. But he just kind of stuck his nose in it, and he's clearly talented, and ran great. Ran really, really well. But yeah, he got here. We've got another Aussie on our team, Harrison Martinez, who was third in the mile. And Harrison came to me in the fall and said, "Hey, one of my best friends is looking to come over to the United States. Can we make it work?" And I said, "Well, give me some information." We started looking, doing my research, talking to him, a couple of Zoom calls, and he got admitted at semester. And then because of COVID, couldn't get visa appointments, and it was just kind of a hassle with everything going on pandemic wise. Ended up having to do his first couple of weeks of the semester online, so he wasn't falling behind in classwork, and got here, I think it was January 29th. It was a Saturday, 29th, 30th, whatever that last Saturday of January was. 6 days later, we raced him in Notre Dame to get some seed times for the conference meet. Won both those races at Notre Dame, which was kind of crazy. He's been in the country for 6 days and had already 2 college wins. And then here we are at the conference meet, and he's beating really good guys in the A10, so he's pretty good.
His friend Harrison did pretty well too. And these guys, Toby Gillen's only a freshman, and Harrison's a sophomore. Malik Stewart, young too. You've got a nice young roster here.
Yeah, we do. It is a young group, and I had to remind myself of that at times this weekend. The freshmen. Well, good thing we're recording this because I totally forgot about 2 other freshmen. Jaden Quadio in the triple jump, and Evan Brunderman, who in the triple jump, they finished 5th and 6th, or 6th and 7th, something like that.
6th and 7th,
6th and 7th. It's so crazy because we had a graduated kid last year, 5th year senior, Ethan Arusha, who's working at Worldwide Technology now, who is a conference champion, who is super meticulous about everything, his diet, his training, the way he ran, his technique, all that. Now I got these 2 freshmen. I'm just hoping they make the bus. So it's, it's freshmen. There's a reason I'm bald, for the people that can see this. Freshmen will do that to you. But no, it's a young group. It's a good mix. Again, we got these Aussies, but then we got, Malik, Maplewood, Richmond Heights, Jaden's from Fort Zumwalt West, Evans from down at Cape Girardeau, Cape Notre Dame. So it's a good group. It's a really exciting time with our men's program. We're going to keep getting better, but we're going to have a lot of years with some of these guys. As I said, the first time we tried this, I haven't even really coached Toby yet. We're so close to this meet, the A10 championship, that I was just like, let's manage these 4 weeks. Let's not do something stupid to get hurt, and we'll just kind of see what we got. I haven't sat down. I was kind of coaching them online for the last, I guess, the couple of weeks right after he committed. I gave him a training plan. once he signed with us in the fall. But I haven't coached him yet. So I don't know what I have. I know I got somebody who's pretty good, but we'll see. We'll get into that this spring.
Training and diet and all of this are so important in your sport, comparatively speaking. I mean, a lot of it is self-driven too, with this kind of sport, because you got like 30 kids out there, like, you got an insane amount of kids. What is it like to try to, have college kids, and with a strict diet? College I was not good with food in college. Like,
it's a struggle. Let's be honest with you. It's a struggle. We've got a good dietitian, and she sees a lot of our kids. I tell kids to, make smart decisions on the weekend. I know it's college and just don't have too much fun. But at this level, when they see how it is to make an NCAA meet, when they see, how hard it is to score in the A10 meet in certain events, first off, if you're a track guy or track gal, you already probably have a few screws loose. Like, you kind of enjoy this training thing, and kind of enjoy the lifestyle piece of it, of being in shape and doing those type of things to be in shape. So it's kind of already there, but yeah, the distraction of college, right? This was a great weekend for our team to be out of St. Louis. This is a great weekend for us to not be in St. Louis. Those distractions are real. So, we talk about it, we have to educate them. And then I cross my fingers a lot.
So, Coach, how does the, for the uninitiated, we've got a lot of listeners who know their basketball and some soccer and stuff like that, but how does it work in track, in terms of the NCAAs versus the conference tournament?
Right. So conference, conference, we're limited. We get 4 entries per event in the different events of, indoor track and field and outdoor track and field. So whoever we want to enter, we can enter and they get to compete. But for the NCAA meet, really simple indoors. There's 21 events, and you have to be in the top 16 in the country to qualify for whatever that event is. So if you're a high jumper, you have to be one of the top 16 high jumpers in the entire country to go to the NCAA. For the men's mile this year, it's going to take about 356 to make the meet, which is absolutely insane to think that you have to be a 356 miler to, the 357 guy who's 17th is a scrub, right? He doesn't get in the meet.
Prefontaine is rolling over in his grave right now.
Yeah, I wish I had a 357 miler. Outdoors, really simple. It's a little different system, but somewhat similar. The country's divided into 2 regions, an East region, a West region. The Mississippi River is the dividing line, and you have to be in the top 48 in your particular events within your region. And then there's a regional meet. You compete. If you're in the top 12 in your event, by the time that meet's over, you advance to the NCAA finals, which are typically held in the University of Oregon. And at that meet, they whittle it down to from the top 24 down to the top 8. Top 8 race for the national championship.
Speaking of Prefontaine, University of Oregon, we talked about the men a lot and their youth and women. You have a runner who did really well, who's only a sophomore, and that's Emily Nichols. She finished 4th in the 400 meters. What's the women's program look like for you guys this year, and then going forward?
Yeah, the women have a lot of work to do. And that's just being truthful. Emily ran great. There's no question. I'm super happy with Emily. She's done a lot of work this year to really put herself in a position to be, for it. She competed. It was kind of crazy at the meet. She ran 56.6 in the 400. I kind of run across the track and to give her a hug and congratulate her. And she's in tears, I only got 4th. I was like, yeah, but these other 2 girls are really, other 3 women actually are really, really, really good. So there's like no shame in that. And, 6 months ago, you'd only run 59 seconds in this event. So you've improved a ton. And so, fourth is a good place to be. Now, if you're fourth next year, I might slap you upside the head, but no, she ran really well. And, I think as I told her in the airport flying home, that I think she needs to start thinking about the first round of the NCAA outdoor meet. At least kind of put that on her mirror and look at that as a goal for the future. And if it happens, great. I mean, it's probably more realistic, honestly, next year, but might as well shoot for it this year. But as a program, we got to get better. We got to recruit a little bit better. It's going to take some time. We've missed on a few classes. We've had some people just not pan out the way we want. I mean, same as any other sport, right? Those things happen. You have some injuries here and there. So we'll get better. Really happy with Carolyn Tarpey, another freshman who was 7th in the pole vault. We've got some young talent, but we do have to get better.
I'm curious because you mentioned, being in the airport and you've got so many athletes over there on the track and field program. I mean, you've got so many different types of people, what's the logistical nature of being a coach, even, travel and just kind of day to day, keeping track of everybody, and how do you deal with that and your coaching staff, and how does that work?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Gosh. I mean, you have to think about it a lot. I mean, it's something, we spend a lot of time on logistics. And it's what I would tell you, you're may change the conversation a little bit. Oh. I think this is what drives a lot of young coaches out of track and field. I mean, besides the fact we also don't get paid very well, but, we don't get basketball money. But it's no, not even close. But that's okay. I made this choice, right? I chose track and field. I had the choice between football and basketball, and I chose track. So you tell me where my intelligence level is. But no, it's you have to put a lot of thought into the details. When you have this weekend, we traveled 45, 28 women and 16 men. And then, an athletic trainer and 3 assistant coaches. So we screw things up. Okay. I mean, that's the nature of the beast when you have that many. I delegated plane tickets for the first time this trip, and I got a text message at 5:30 on Wednesday morning, 5:30 in the morning, Wednesday morning, from one of my assistants. I think I may have made a mistake. We won't get into the details of that, but we got to DC and we're back. So, but no, it is a stressor trying to keep track of everybody, trying to feed everybody. And you need experience. That's what it comes down to. You just have to you do it and you learn from the mistakes and you get better the next time.
If your assistant needs to bounce anything off anybody, I did just make a big mistake about 15 minutes ago.
So you didn't get that assistant job.
Yeah, no. Now I'm clearly not going to be on the short list when you're looking to expand coaching staff. Yeah. Well, first of all, I think before we get into where the Billiken fans can find you guys, you had me just getting into an endurance sports. Your adventure that you had last year, I believe, it piqued my interest big time. Talk to the Billiken fans about this massive race you embarked on with your bike.
Right. So the Transamerica bike race, I tried it in 2017. So how I even found out about it, because we didn't even get into this the first time. No. So there was a documentary that came out about it in 2015. Inspired to Ride is the name of the documentary. I think you can find it on Netflix, Amazon Prime, streaming sources, streaming services. You can find it on there. I watched it and I was like, there's no way. Like this it's about, well, and actually the main person is now deceased. He got hit by a car in Australia and died. I know, sorry for the morbid piece of that. I saw that. I was like, yeah, it seems kind of neat, but then no way in hell am I doing that. And then, I somehow I ended up doing it or trying it in 2017, dropped out after 4 days and 700 miles, 4 days in Council, Idaho. And then because of COVID and shut down working from home, I'm sitting here, what the hell's a track coach do when, school closes, everybody's at home, you've got no season. I do ride competitively. I've been doing that for 20 plus years outside of sport, outside of coaching. It's kind of my competitive outlet. And so I was just like, I'm riding a lot. I tried it in 2017. I've ridden more miles than I'd ever ridden. So why not? Like, let's, countries at the time was starting to open back up a little bit. So I said, let's do this. Let's, have some fun. I'm tired of sitting inside. I think everybody was tired of sitting inside in 2020. So yeah, rode across the country, 4,200 miles, 24 days. And then 2 weeks ago, my wife says, hey, if you want to do it again, go for it. So I signed up. But I've been telling people if I did this again, I would end up in a divorce. So when she said, do it again, that was a green light. That's all I needed.
I can't relate to having to ask the wife, but Peter, I know Peter can, so I'm sure Peter can.
Yeah, I can't imagine she would tell me to leave for that much time, though. I mean, maybe when our kids are older or something.
Well, Rhode Island's one of the Rhode Island women's coaches came up to me and he's like, congratulating me on this thing. He said, how did your wife handle this? And I said, well, his name's John too. I said, well, John, no. The bad part is John's wife is the head women's coach at Rhode Island too. So that's also a unique dynamic. But I said, well, you guys know what it's like when this, school's out for the summer, you guys are home, you're not really in the office every day. I mean, yeah, my wife gets tired of me after a while. I mean, the first couple of days is nice. I was like, God, get out of here. Don't you have somewhere to be?
Yeah.
So
need that space.
Well, yeah. we discussed it on our non-recorded interview, and we're definitely going to have you on and do a deep dive into your experience, and that's for sure going to happen. We just got to schedule it. But where can Billiken fans find you on social media, and then where can what do you got coming up locally this summer, or not summer, spring? Sorry.
So. JBell30 on Twitter. I tweet a lot. You'll find all kinds of meet results, updates on the program. I think I've been tweeting since 2009. So I've gotten the Twitter thing down. Instagram, not good on Instagram, but we do have one. It's Billiken's XCTF. So Billiken's Cross Country Track and Field. I don't do that one. Somebody else does that one. But there's one of my assistants does that. And so there's lots of pictures, lots of, social media stuff, good place for information. Do have a home meet March 25th, Friday, March 25th. Running events actually start at 3:30 p.m. So a little happy hour, come on down, enjoy some adult beverages, watch some track and field. Actually, it's going to be a pretty good meet. We've got Illinois State coming down, Bradley's coming down, Missouri State is coming up. Some local schools in Lindenwood, Maryville. I think actually Bellarmine's also coming up from Nashville. So it'll be a good little meet, a good little fun Friday afternoon. Hopefully the weather's nice. Like I said, enjoy some adult beverages and some track and field.
No, that's awesome. And yeah, thank you so much for coming on, and thank you for bearing with my my dumb ass and while I had the technical issues that I had. Anyway, I'll blame it on Zoom. But hey, Coach, enjoy your evening. Get some sleep. I know you've been up for a while, so
Will do.
Take it easy.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Thanks, Coach.
That wraps up the week that was in Billiken Athletics. Follow us on Twitter at Midtown Mad Pod, at Peter is a tweeter, at Zach Miller MMP. Pete, do you have anything before we get out of here?
I think that's it for me. I've reminded everybody to, check out our incoming recruits who are all in playoff action this week. But otherwise, that's it from me, man.
Yeah, go check out our YouTube channel. I know it's not really like a lot of people's things to sit there and watch, a talk show. But go check it out. Subscribe at least just to bump the numbers. I don't know. we appreciate any suggestions you might have for this show. We always are trying to do better, I think you can tell like that I tinker constantly with a lot of things on the show. But please send us any suggestions you have, as long as they're nice. Don't be mean. My fragile ego can't handle that. Go subscribe to the show on all platforms if you haven't left a review. Also do that. And as I say every week, Pete, go Bills.
Go Bills.